Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Live on Location with Bowen and Mimi. Today we are in Revelstoke, BC with Kata Polano. I'm so happy that you have invited us into Acoustic Ink Tattoo Studio. Kata is the founder, the owner of this awesome creative space. And she's worn many different hats over the years, from yoga teacher, mountain bike teacher. You had a restaurant at a certain time.
At a point in time.
Yeah, you've done a lot of traveling. And then, and also you, for 10 years, I think you were building
mud houses.
Mud houses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? There's a lot of different places we could begin.
I mean, we can start from the beginning, or we can start from now and move backwards. We can jump around.
I love how flexible you are. So I'm actually very curious about you as an artist as a kid.
It was encouraging, right? Like when your grandparents and your parents put your art on the wall when you're young, it's like, okay, this is all right. So I just always enjoyed it more than anything. It was fun. It was, you get to go into your own little world. You get to challenge yourself. Sometimes with, like learn how to draw. I remember I had a book that was learn how to draw horses, because I used to ride horses too. So I think my grandfather got it for me, and I was like so pumped on that. I tried to draw horses and took art in high school and had some very interesting and creative instructors and professors with that.
And at that time, were you just open to any techniques? Or I think I read something that you preferred painting over drawing.
Yeah, I love painting. I think because it's more forgiving. You can paint layers. You can paint over it. You can move it around when it's still wet. Whereas when you put pencil or lead on paper, it's there. You can erase it to a point, and when you move to pen, it's there, right? And which is kind of funny that deterred me more. Now I'm a tattoo artist, because as soon as you put that needle on skin, I was wondering, yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, I just love the freedom and the motion of paintings, and with tattooing and drawing. People are like, oh, well, to get into tattooing, you need a portfolio, so you need to draw, so you can take this portfolio to people so you can get an apprenticeship and all that. I'm like, well, I hate drawing. And then when a friend was teaching me how to tattoo, I found out I loved drawing when someone made a request for a specific tattoo. Mm-hmm. I think I couldn't focus on what I wanted to draw. Somehow I could focus on what I wanted to paint. So yeah, it's an interesting thing about art and how I went. And I'm sure other artists are like that. They have their mediums they like. Yeah. And that's kind of, mine was painting. I still love to paint. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After high school, you went into university or college?
Yeah, I went to the University of Guelph.
Okay.
Which is in Ontario. Yeah. And I actually got a, not as creative, but a bachelor in commerce, my BCom. Specifically in hospitality and tourism. Back then it was called HAFA, and we got teased. It was half a degree, but it was hospitality and food administration. And it was fun, and it came in useful eventually, right? Running a business. I've run a couple businesses, and just on your spare time or your electives or stuff, you can take things that were more interesting. But in university, I went. My hobbies ended up being a little bit more activities like rock climbing and stuff versus the art. So I just kind of experimented in a different outlet of free time. Yeah.
What brought you to BC?
Oh, that's a good question. I came out, well, not quite to BC, but I came out to do a couple summers in Jasper. Back when I was in university, in our summers we had them off, and I just loved the mountains.
Well, I was gonna ask you, to come from Ontario and see the Rockies for the first time.
Or what people were doing, right, during the summer. So like, oh, we're going out to Jasper, we're going out to Banff or whatever. We're gonna work in the mountains, and it's like, okay, what's this about? Had some friends that were coming out. So I'm like, all right, I'll go. Most of the students would apply to jobs with Fairmount and big hotels, right, and just to get out here.
Yeah.
So I did that. Worked in Jasper a couple summers, and I just fell in love with the mountains, but it didn't really at that time, it didn't hold me. Like when I finished school, I went traveling other places, mainly Mexico. And while I was down there, I had a friend who was really into yoga and meditation and things like that. And then he said to me one day, he's like, I want to build mud houses. I'm like, what are mud houses? And I'm picturing literally like an igloo on the side of the road in India made of dung. And I'm like, that sounds neat. Let's do this.
Yes.
And then he showed me pictures and they're beautiful houses, like the two-door houses in Germany, like, with the exposed timber frames and all
this.
Is this
the same? Like, is a mud house the same as a cob build?
Yeah.
Or...
So I'm like just generalizing the term. I think
Right.
he used the term mud houses, so I had no idea, right? But yeah, they're cob houses, they're straw bale houses, they're adobe houses, things like that. So when the tides shifted and it was time for me to kind of make my next move while I was in Mexico, I remembered him saying this, like it was 3 years prior, right? Like, oh, maybe I'll try that now. And so I looked it up and I'm like, well, I kind of wanted to learn in my own language. My Spanish was good. I was fluent in Spanish, but you have like your compartments of topics that you're fluent in. And I was not fluent in construction. Right. So it's like, maybe I'll learn in my own language. And then, so there were schools in the States and there were schools in Canada. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do that, I'll go back to my own country. So Vancouver Island had a great school and I went out there and did an internship there for 6 months. And then, started building houses out of mud.
What an adventure.
I did it for 10 years.
Okay.
It's pretty location specific, kind of where you have more of the grassroots movements. So like Vancouver Island is a hot spot for it. It's probably climate specific a little bit, though it doesn't have to be. Mm-hmm. There are a couple straw bale houses and there's a hempcrete house here in Revelstoke. Vancouver Island, California, Oregon. So from that, coming to Revelstoke, is that what the original question was?
We're on a journey here, but I still have more questions
we're following the trail. So.
Like mud house building. Yeah. I'm just thinking then again about you being an artist and being able to be creative in a very different way. Mm-hmm. So can you just speak about that for a minute?
I ended up doing most of the finish work on these houses, which was plastering. Inside would be plastering, outside would be rendering, but it's the finish coats on the walls. I had a lot of creative clients that would get me to put like relief sculptures within the plaster. So right in the wall we have like sculptures going on. I got into glass work a little bit and did like custom pseudo stained glass windows for these houses. So that's a little bit where my creativity got to come out and my artistic elements got to play into can be kind of a, straight lined kind of industry, right? Natural building, which is, these are mud houses, it's natural building. Mm-hmm. The houses are often like curvilinear and they're not straight, they're not flat walls, so you can get a little bit more flow and texture and play with everything.
So after that, what felt good? Where did you
move to? I ended up moving to Nelson. And there's some natural building down there, so I was keeping busy a bit. It's a lot more seasonal. Seasons are shorter. And then in the winter, I needed to find something else to do. So I started looking around. I'd met some people that lived in Revelstoke. It's not too far, Nelson. So started looking at what was available for work up here for the winter. I heard about the skiing. It had been like 20 years since I had skied. So I was like, right. It didn't come because of the skiing, which a lot of people in Revelstoke do come for. But I got a good job working massage at the spa that was at the time at the ski hill, which got me a good deal on a ski pass. And I'm like, well, I'm in Revelstoke. I should probably ski. So I bought some skis, some used skis, nothing that fit. And I got out there and it was like, wow, this is big. And, you just kind of jump in 2 feet and find somebody that skis just a little faster than you and try to keep up. And it gets you going pretty quickly into the skiing here. Yeah. But that's how I ended up in Revelstoke. I got a job doing the massage. Mm-hmm. went back for one more summer to Nelson, came back here and decided this was a better fit for me.
Did you have tattoos before you moved to Revelstoke?
Yep, I did. I got my first tattoo when I turned 18. Yeah, that one's covered up now. It was interesting. My mother and father were like, yeah, when you turn 18, you can get a tattoo. Great, got a tattoo. And then years and years later, it's gone, but I had my tongue pierced. It took my mom a year to notice. And boy, did she walked out of the room.
So somehow a tattoo was acceptable,
right?
But the tongue piercing.
It was funny because those are temporary, but the tattoos are very permanent. And yeah, it was interesting. But now I have quite a few. But yeah, I started getting tattooed at 18, but not like in a big rush. I'm not super covered like a lot of artists.
Yeah,
my legs are, but
well, and saying so, you were allowed at 18 and you got your tattoo at 18, but then you covered it up. So as a tattoo artist now, how do you feel about 18-year-olds coming in wanting a tattoo?
It depends. Depends on the tattoo. Depends on the person. Sometimes it's like, maybe you might want to think about that. Other times you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's that you thought about that tattoo. This is like a meaningful tattoo, or it's a beautiful tattoo. It's a good placement. It's kind of like for mine and being covered up and all that, I can speak to the experiences. Like, I just wanted to get a tattoo, right? I didn't put a lot of thought into it. And the location, I didn't put a lot of thought in, like none of that, right? I just walked into, back then, like basically you walked into a studio or a shop and they had stuff all over the walls and you kind of picked from that, right? I'm sure there was a lot of custom stuff going on as well, but it was a little different back then. And so that's what I did. I walked into a shop and I'm like, give me half of that and put it there,
Yeah.
And so they can be like trendy, and there's always a different trend going on with tattoos. So it depends, right? But I don't know. It's your body. It's your choice.
Yeah.
You can get them laser removed.
Yeah.
You can, like I did, get them covered up.
Right.
Everybody start somewhere, make your own decisions.
Yeah. I have a similar story. I was 18, Bangkok.
Yeah.
Too much Mekong whiskey.
Okay.
Yes,
I get so many stories when people come in like,
right,
this tattoo's from there.
Yeah.
The thing I do want to say about deciding to get a tattoo and stories that I hear from people is never be afraid to just say no, right? Just say no. I have people come in and be like, oh, I felt pressured. It wasn't really what I wanted. I had to pick in 20 minutes. It was just the pressure to get one from either the artist or your friends or whatever reason it is. And then it's not so much the tattoo that you pick. It's that locks in an energy. It locks in that story, right? So the stories that come in that everybody's like excited to share the stories of their tattoo. It's like, I got this because of this, it's like, it might be a crappy tattoo. It's like not done well, or like whatever it is, right? The design was like silly and goofy, but the story that it locks in, that's what stays with you. And people come in and they have these sad stories of like, I felt pressured, and like they might love the actual tattoo, but the story that's with it, that I think has a bigger impact on the tattoo, like on you with the tattoo than the actual tattoo does.
Yeah.
So just, don't be afraid to say no, because that story, that experience is what's going to stay. That when you look at it, you're going to be like, ah.
How do you end up with this idea to become a stick and poke tattoo artist?
Okay, hand poke.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Why did I say stick and poke? Is it also referred to as that?
It's kind of referred to it. And in the industry, we're trying to kind of clean up the terminology around it. So stick and poke, and we often refer to as like you're in your kitchen with your friend and you get just a...
I'm glad I said it in the incorrect way, because then that will give you an opportunity to tell me about that.
So that's kind of where that phrase kind of came from, to my understanding. Other people might have different stories.
No,
so
fair
stick
enough.
and poke is a little bit more like yeah, you're in your friend's basement or at your friend's kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas hand poke has become, it has become more the industry term for it's professional, right? You're in a studio, the person knows what they're doing, sanitation is extremely important, all of that, right? So it's a little bit of to differentiate between what you're getting and who you're going to. Yeah.
Oh, that's important to know.
It's a blurry line, but we're trying in the industry to kind of differentiate between them so that you know what you're getting.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So we're gonna overlap a little bit of the adventure timeline.
Yeah.
So Vancouver Island, building houses, working with a girl out there, a friend of mine, and she's getting into hand poke tattoos. It's time for me to get another tattoo. You know, it's been a while. So I'm like, okay, give me a tattoo. I want to see this hand poke stuff. And she gives me this seahorse on the back of my arm, which is the least painful place to get a tattoo. You'd think, because when you pinch back there, it hurts, right? I literally said to her, I'm like, are you sure you're doing this right? Because I don't feel anything. She's like, yeah, my mom said the same thing. I tattooed the same spot. I'm like, okay. Intrigued, right? Super intrigued. Like, low pain to no pain tattoos. Unheard of. Inconceivable. Just watched them.
Yeah.
Just watched Princess Bride recently. So, it takes me about a year until I'm like, okay, I've got some equipment. I want to try this. I'm talking to her. She's covered in tattoos. I'm like, where was the most painful place you got tattooed? She's like, the top of her foot. So I did this. This was the first tattoo I ever performed. Wow. And it's a little sand dollar, not a cucumber.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
And it did not hurt. I was like, this hand poke thing is pretty awesome. So I just started like dabbling in it.
Is this because with hand poking you have more control about the depth of the needle going in compared to a machine, or?
User error, maybe, if that's the reason. That's user error. It's like hand stitching versus machine sewing. Your stitches are you're perforating less, right? So with the machine, it is moving at a very rapid pace, and so you're getting hit with that needle quite a bit, whereas hand poking, every dot is like, it just gets a little bit more space, you're going slower, it's not got as much momentum, things like that, but your depth should be the same. Yeah, it's just maybe because it's slower. I remember my first tattoo, and I think everybody always asks what's the worst one. For a lot of people, the first one's the worst one because you just don't know what to expect. And the location I got my first one was like, I always often described it as like someone taking a scalpel down my spine. I was like, oh, it was horrible, right? Machines have come a long way. Artists too, like it highly depends on the artist. You have gentle artists and you have pretty tough artists. And sometimes both their quality of work is great and sometimes not. So with the hand poking, yeah, I just felt it was so gentle. And so then I started tattooing other people after practicing a little bit on myself, and had her as a mentor and a couple other friends, and everybody had the same response. They're like, wow, that really doesn't hurt. They're like, oh, that a comment I often get when I start working on people is like, that's it? I'm like, yep, that's it. Now again, like after 4.5 hours, which is your body's like adrenaline threshold sort of time limit, you're going to start to feel it a little bit more, because your adrenaline can carry you through 4.5 hours. It's kind of industry standard for comfort zone.
Well, it's a long time for someone to be still.
And to sit still, yeah. So your adrenaline will start to come back down, and you'll start to feel things a little bit more. But and so hand poking, again, like you'll start to feel it, same thing, but it's still going to be more gentle. Yeah. So,
and it was easy to find people to.
Well, like a lot of people starting out, there's a couple different ways you can go. So I started practicing on myself and sacrificing skin, we say. And then your friends are like intrigued, just like I was with my friend. I'm like, oh, give me a tattoo. So probably back then you could have classified me as a stick and poke. I wasn't taking it super, I didn't imagine it becoming my career. And yeah, so I had friends that were like, give me a tattoo. And I'm like, sure. And then that just progressed and like, not quite snowballed, but it progressed like 5 years of this. And then I started taking it a lot more seriously and researching the proper everything, right? Like how to run a shop basically. And I had a few mentors that were machine artists, but they would look at my work, I'd send them photos, and just from a photo they could tell what I did right and what I did wrong, sort of thing. So I started taking like the precision a lot more seriously. And one year I had too many friends saying, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to open a studio. And I looked for a year in town. Revelstoke doesn't have a lot of spaces for small businesses. And once they do become available, the business beside them often have swallowed them up and expanded. So I looked for a year, didn't find anything. I had my roommate move out. So I was like, maybe I'll try this. I can keep looking in town for a space if I don't like it from my home, right? Because I did massage in spas a lot, and I would do some massage here, and I didn't like it. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate it. And then I loved it.
Like the idea of working from home?
Just for a spa setting versus home massage setting, just it was such a different experience for me, and I didn't enjoy it as much. I loved working in the spa setting, and so I felt that it would have the same feeling. Like I wouldn't love working from home in this space, but I didn't have that experience for tattooing in a different environment versus this, and I ended up loving it. And now I don't even look for a space in town anymore. Why pay like the rent in town?
Exactly.
Then,
yeah. I just would like to know, do you know where you'd like to be in the next few years as far as with your business or with
I mean, ideally I'd love if Revelstoke we're super busy. Because it's fun to work from home. I love being in Revelstoke. With any luxury industry, like it ebbs and flows with the economy, and well, you know, our economy is in an interesting place right now. So it's a little bit more quiet, and that's given me the reasons to, beyond like loving going to conventions, it's prompted me to sign up for more conventions because that you can go work, and I mean like you work 14-hour days sort of thing, like 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. for 3 days or roughly those hours sort of thing. And then you come home and you can rest, you know. So I do love doing those. I do want to do more conventions over the years. I like to do the ones I can drive to. I like to do guest spots. I just did Fernie in the winter. I wanted to go out to like Squamish. It's the nice thing about what we can do. And like, we open our doors to other artists. I can go work in a different shop for like a week. You just have to promote, which I'm terrible at.
Well, you'd mentioned Vernon. I'd like to come to Vernon, so please come and see us.
My friend who I'm sharing a booth with in Red Deer is actually moving from Kelowna to Vernon, so she's going to be working there, and so maybe I'll come out to where they're at. So busier in Revelstoke without me having to market, because you know I'm an artist, not a marketer. Busier shows, like just going to more shows and continue to do the things that I do, why I live in Revelstoke, right? Like the skiing, the biking, all that fun outdoor stuff, the farmers markets, all that, like enjoying the lifestyle that we're really fortunate to have here in Revelstoke.
Kata, amazing life that you have.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good. And thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks for coming in.
We will have a chance to look around in a moment.
Show you around.
We'll see everyone soon. We're with Kata, and she's going to show us around Acoustic Ink tattoo.
Yeah. So this is my little studio at the back of my house. I've collected flowers from the garden, and I've got some prints and jewelry from various artistic endeavors.
Now, these are original paintings, or
this one's a print. That's original, and a print. Got the originals somewhere.
Gorgeous.
So yeah, I just like to decorate it with art and things that from around the property, other artists' work that I really admire in town, and some products that you can find in any tattoo studio, really, like aftercare lotions and stickers.
Yeah.
And then we have some flash like available designs, and I've been spending a lot of time getting that ready for upcoming conventions that we spoke about. So I'll have this displayed at my booth, and people can walk up and be like, oh, I want that. And then we'll get them in and we'll tattoo them, or they'll be online a little bit too. You can see them online and pre-book into the studio. Some of my older flash, this was all when I was really practicing the stippling for the hand poke, because it's just dot work rather than lines. So that's really fun. Yeah, it's a small studio, so it's not going to take a lot of time to show you around, and nice bright light. But then
talk to us about sustainability, because that is very important to you.
It's super important. So I went from building sustainable houses to trying to have a tattoo studio that was as sustainable as possible, which was really tricky when I first started out, because there's so much single-use plastic in this industry. And then I discovered, first it was Good Judy. They're out of Toronto, and they really do an amazing job. Everything they sell is compostable or biodegradable, and it's all for the tattoo industry. So these are ink cups. So what I put my ink in when I'm working, they're just, I'll show you one. So they're just like made of paper, and they have a little bit of a lining, but it's all compostable. You can just chuck it in. I have like in my bin, I usually have a compostable garbage bag, so I separate that even. And single-use plastic stuff that we use, like bags to cover our wash bottles or soap bottles, right? Bags to cover our machines. These are the compostable station covers. So they're just the covers that I put over my station where I'm working, and then I put all this good stuff on there, and everything's just so nice and compostable and biodegradable, and I feel good about it. That was a huge thing. Even the nitrile gloves are compostable, or these ones are biodegradable. And it was a hard thing coming into tattooing and realizing I had to buy so much single-use plastic, and I didn't know what to do. And then I found these guys, and now more and more companies are offering it. Like this one, Good Barriers, they're Good Guy Supply, and they're actually in Salmon Arm. So
local-ish, kind of, yeah.
I have friends that like drive through Salmon Arm all the time.
Yeah,
can you pick me up some stuff?
Yeah.
And, I don't have to have it shipped.
Oh, that's cool.
It's just so nice to have that as an option in such a consumption-heavy industry.
Thanks for making the effort. That's important.
It's important to me. So I'm just super grateful there's companies out there that it's important to as well. And it gives us the option, right?
Yeah. Again, thanks for taking the time to introduce us to what you do in this awesome world of hand poke and also machine tattoos.
Both.
Nice to meet you, Kata.
Nice to meet you too, Mimi. Thanks so much for coming in, guys.
Thank you.